Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode 35 of Verbal Graffiti with your host, Brian Glass, aka the B Man, the People's Degenerate. I was editing episode 33, and whoa, I went hard with the red pill in that episode. I need to give myself a 45-day self probation from any Patrice O'Neill internet clips. I love Patrice O'Neill. He was one of my favorite Mount Rushmore comedians, along with Bill Burr, David Tell, and Joan Rivers. But you listen to enough of those uh, Patrice O'Neill, Dr. Philip, or Patrice O'Neill, Opie and Anthony clips, and you'll start thinking that yeah, like every babe you talk to is like one of the whores he was with down in Brazil. If you know Patrice O'Neill and you listen to his radio back in the day, like you'll know what I'm talking about. But if not, go check out Patrice O'Neill. He's way funnier than I'll ever be. And well, I can't watch him for the next 45 days because I don't have enough juice, swag, riz to be as red pill as Patrice O'Neill was. Something else I want to get into a little bit is it's summer. It's summer, past Memorial Day. I am a shirt off guy during the summer. If it's ever over 75 degrees, my shirt is off. I don't have the body for it, but that's the energy I have. I am a shirt off while I'm mowing the lawn, if I'm jogging on the street, if I'm driving, if I before I walk into a gig and put my shirt on, my shirt is off. Everyone can see my chest hair. I love it, even though I'm pale. Just give me that vitamin D, son. I bring this all up because I was driving on I-91 with my shirt off, and there were like not a gang, but like maybe three or four bikers, motorcycles, and none of them had their helmets on. I was like, whoa, that's a little scary. And then I got off an exit. I was in New Haven, I think on Orange Street, and I was doing a gig, but it was nice out, so I was it's chopping it up outside with a few of the comics and the owner of the bar. And there were like cyclists, like bicycle riders who were driving by, and they all had helmets on. That was just a weird, juxtaposition between the two groups because you think it should be the opposite, right? Like the motorcycle riders, those are the ones who need the helmets, and the bicycle riders, even though they need them, but not as much as the motorcycle. So I started thinking about the two groups in my head and the similarities and the differences. And of course, it all comes back to the babes with me. And as we know, the babes are more attracted, at least I believe so, to the motorcycle guys than they are the cyclist. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, shouldn't the babes be more into the cyclist? Because when it comes down to just being dicked down, like the cyclists have more energy because they're cycling, so they have more stamina, they have more, they're more in shape, generally speaking, than the motorcycle riders, so they were able to dick you down harder and longer than the bike gang guy. So why is that? I mean, it all comes down to risk. We know if you know anything about evolutionary psychology, babes are attracted to risk takers. It's just how evolution has been. The risk takers end up being on top. They survive. They pass that gene down to the next generation. And at least that's what the smart people who study evolutionary psychology will say. And I was giving it a lot of thought. And I think what it comes down to is the motorcycle guy is more likely to kill another person than a cyclist. And for whatever reason, babes are just attracted to serial killers, and it's just more likely that a motorcycle rider has a knife on him and is more likely to get in an altercation than the cyclist, even though I really do believe the cyclist is probably better at sex than the motorcycle guy. Ooh, did my voice just crack? I'm sorry. I've been filming a lot tonight. My apologies for that. I'll try to keep my voice in check. With that weird opening out of the way, let's get to this one. Comes from the subreddit Social Skills. Clearly, I need help with that. Why does everything seem so fake in life? Question mark. I've been questioning myself a lot more this year since I moved away from my family and have been living on my own. People seem so fake in their actions, body language, and facial expressions, and I can see through almost everyone. I've always been able to do this, which has made me question, am I autistic? Am I mentally ill? Double question mark. What is wrong with me? I feel like an outsider no matter where I go. I feel so alone. I hope I explained this question properly. You have. I could go more into detail, but I'm honestly so tired. I just need to know what is wrong with me. I feel our synergy, our wavelengths are right on, and I'm a little worried that you think there's something wrong with you because I am the same exact way. And I have felt an uptick in 2024 so far this year with these outer body experiences where like even though I'm in a situation, I feel like an outsider, like looking down from like a bird's eye view or like a camera angle at the entire crowd. So much so that I wrote down a list of things I've noticed this year. I jot down some notes that I think are funny on the topic, but this one I wrote an actual list. First one was I was at a bar, like a towny dive bar, a few months ago, winter time, and I was there with a couple of my friends, and I'm kind of a townie, so like I wasn't out of place. I was I was very inebriated, barely coherent, but I was coherent enough where like I just had this bird's eye view of like what was going on. It was almost like Saved by the Bell, if you're old enough to remember that show, where Zach Morris would do a timeout and everything would stop and like he could see the scene as it was happening. That's what happened to me this night, where like I looked at everyone in the bar, and even though everything was moving, time was still, and I think I noticed like wow, like everybody's having fun but nobody's being productive with their life. Nobody's doing anything right now that's enhancing, pushing, uh, making society upward, making it better. And it was just this kind of this eerie feeling that I don't want to be here, even though like I enjoy being here. I need to remove myself from the situation and not be in it nearly as often as I am. I still love drinking at bars, hanging out with my friends outside of comedy, but you do get to that point where you realize, wow, like nobody, we're just drinking and drinking, eating popcorn and chicken fingers, but nobody's valuing their life in this moment. Like nobody's making themselves better. And as I mentioned in the previous episode, like we gotta try to be better humans. And in that situation, a townie bar, that's not happening. A second one I've noticed online, I've noticed a lot of self censorship this year, much more so than in the past. It almost to me, it's almost like spitting in the face of the internet and what it was supposed to be. The internet was, internet 1.0 was this wild, wild west where there were no rules. And I just like incrementally, and it's really hit this year though, where it just seems like every big content creator is censoring almost everything. Like I really first started noticing it in COVID. Like when COVID was hitting, there were some content creators, and if you like this like conspiracy type content, a lot of those type of creators were not were avoiding using words like with the jab and certain words in regards to COVID because they knew if they use those words, they would get deplatformed. So that's where I first started noticing this. But now I'm just seeing just generic words and even, for example, like the word sex, when people write this like description of a post on YouTube, instead of writing the word sex, they'll write S3, like the number 3X. And instead of saying porn, they'll say corn. And instead of like simple curse words like shit and fuck, they'll get beeped out on their Instagram and their YouTube reels. It's like, what are we doing? Like, it's not like YouTube's telling you you can't do it. It's almost like people are self-censoring it because like, well, if I'm being PC and I could get more views and a bigger audience and more money, but it's all that you're kicking your audience in the balls by bleeping out curse words because you're not being authentic. At least that's what I believe. Again, I have like 33 subscribers, so maybe I'm the fuck wrong, but the you're turning yourself into FM radio when you don't use curse words and you're not saying cock and you're not talking about dangerous subjects if that's who you really are. And FM radio sucks. So does AM radio. So does Sirius radio. The internet was for the fun, the energetic, the wild ones who would curse and bring up topics you weren't supposed to bring up. And it's that self-censor, and you're like, how far is this gonna go? And there is this out like, dude, you're just being fake. Like this Reddit post, this guy saying, like, you're not wrong. Like you're right in what you're seeing. At least it's what I'm seeing is everyone's just too afraid that like you're gonna get that like Big Brother's gonna slap you on the hand and you're not gonna be allowed online anymore. And it's like, oh no, I might not make money, but most of us aren't making money on the internet anyway. So you might as well just be your true self. It's like you're willingly putting yourself into corporate America, like HR type talk when no one's actually putting you there but yourself or what you perceive where you need to be. I don't even know if I'm making sense with all this, but let me know down in the comments if you do notice more censorship online, like self-censorship from content creators. Don't worry, I'll say a word content. I'll say a naughty word. I'm not afraid of those overlords deplatforming me. I don't have a platform. It's like I have 30 subscribers. I'm not going anywhere with fake language. There's another one I noticed this, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. This kind of outer body experience. It's almost, as I mentioned earlier, with red pill. It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. I was driving in my town, Wallingford, Connecticut, by like a four-way intersection, and there was a cop there who was, the cop is at this intersection a lot doing, speed checks, see people below the light, and he had an SUV. His cop car was an SUV, brand new. And I looked at that SUV and I thought, that's something. And then I just noticed after that experience, or noticing that for the first time, that every time I saw a cop car in my town or a nearby town, it was almost always a brand new SUV. And it's still the case today. And then I start thinking, I'm like, well, if cops are driving a vehicle that's like a better vehicle than 80% of the residents they're supposed to protect and serve, that seems like an imbalance there. Like maybe that shouldn't be the case. And like, what is the meaning of that? And why does a cop need a brand new SUV? It's like, dude, there's crime in my town, but it's not like, you can have a regular four-door sedan. It doesn't need to be there aren't a whole lot of car chases here. It's not like the LA with a 405. You can have a 7-year-old Ford or Toyota, or I guess you want an American car, but whatever U.S. brand car maker. And then, sometimes you watch Al Qaeda videos. I watch a lot of shit on the internet, but they'll be riding and they'll be driving like beat up pickup trucks. And I'm not saying U.S. police need to have a beat up pickup truck, but you don't need a brand new SUV either. Like when you're driving better vehicles than all the residents you're serving, like there's going to be some animosity that rises up. And when it, like a couple years after noticing this, there was the BLM riots, and yes, that's just a whole nother topic. But you got to be at least even with the residents. Once the residents think they're above you, or you think you're above the residents, that's where heads start to butt and anger starts to rise. That's another one. What's another? Mm. Oh, I have a I have a guy I'm friendly with who drinks a lot, and it's almost like I can see him. Like I can see he has problems in his life, and I don't know him well enough to really like talk to him about it. But I could tell he's drinking to forget what's really going on in his life. Uh, and, that's always an uneasy thing. You shouldn't drink to get away from your problems, or he also does drugs too. But enough about him. Another thing I've noticed, almost as outer body experiences, I'll walk dogs, and I'll see like dads in my neighborhood and maybe it's just because I'm getting older and I have friends who have kids, but I just see these dads and there's no expression on their face. It's almost like I could tell they love their kid, but they don't like being a parent. And they almost seem to have given up on life. There's no vibrancy. There's no color. It's almost like you remember being a teenager where everybody was so fun and it was so fun to hang out. And I do believe maybe it's because I'm a bum in life that I do this. But I think every once in a while you should ask yourself, like, hey, what does like 16-year-old you think of you today at whatever age you're at? And if that 16-year-old like thinks you're lame, you probably are lame. And I'm seeing all these fathers and moms, and there's just not a whole lot of soul to them. There's not a lot of spice. It seems like they're it's not that they've given up. It's just that they're content with their life and where it is, and it doesn't seem like they're striving for something better because life can be better. And I've noticed this more and more. Again, maybe it's because I'm getting older and maybe people just give up on life as you get a little older into past 30 and 40. But it is frightening when I see, at least when I this is what I project I see in some of these fathers' faces in my town, in my circles when I go out to eat and do stand up. I just see a sense of, it's almost like a cloud hanging over everybody. Like it's never going to get better, or like what became of my life? Like this is not what I thought life was going to be. And there's maybe it's the economy, maybe it's the children, it's ruining their life. Maybe it's the work. It's probably a combination of all these things and variables I'm not even thinking of or aware of. But there is this malaise, at least in this, Northeast America. Like there's this malaise. We're going through the motions, and again, I'm not judging. I mean I am judging everybody, but I'm not like judging you or myself. I'm just like I'm noticing it. I'm just noticing it, and it's making me feel uncomfortable. And I want more for people. I want that zest for life that it doesn't, it's not zapping me when they're in my presence. I don't feel that energy emanating from their skin, and it's disheartening. And one more thing, the last one here, I could go on and on, but this one this year, 2024, I don't know why I didn't pick up on this earlier, but there is like everyone who's married has a ring on, like a diamond ring. And the thought, like knowing that the girls grow up wanting to be married and have a diamond ring, and that means everything to so it's almost in unison. All women want that, or let's say at least a majority of them. It almost makes like, what is that? Like, there's no uniqueness to a diamond ring. Why, if all your girlfriends have a diamond ring, why would you want a diamond ring too? That's very. Uh, there's nothing attractive about that to me. That you'd want to wear a ring similar to what everybody else has on, and like, wouldn't you want a ring that has, I don't know, maybe like a ladybug on it, or what else would you want on it? Like a scoop of ice cream, or a ring with something something that's more personal than just some dumb diamond that costs $10,000. Very, very odd that we're copycats. We all want to be like somebody else. I'm with you with this one. I've been rambling. I'm not going to apologize. Is anyone else having these outer body experiences where you're looking down? Maybe we're the weird ones, and everybody. Yeah, we're weird. Let's go with that. Poster, me, we're weird. The rest of you, just be thankful you're not having these these views that we're having. Let's go into something now. Uh, what else is there for the B man to say? Babes in their diamond rings. Girls. So stupid. Next one comes from the subreddit. Boomers being fools. Are they? Boomer raced me to get the table he wanted. We went to a lakeside restaurant last night. When we arrived at the hostess station, there were 4 boomers milling around in that area. Uh-oh. I thought maybe they were leaving and waiting for someone to return with a to-go box or something. The hostess told us to sit wherever we would like, and she'd bring the menus in a minute. I started walking towards the table, and the lead boomer squeezed in front of me and planted his hand on the table as I was getting ready to sit at it. And then he just continued to stand there with his hand planted until his companions could catch up. If I knew we were racing, I would have made it a point to win, emoji. We sat at the table right next to it. Ouch. Just as much by the water as the first. What do you want me to say? Woulda, shoulda, coulda. Seems like you got alphaed by a boomer who probably spends his days playing shuffleboard, and as a result, you were forced to eat dinner at the table right next to the kitchen. And now you've come to the internet in front of all of us strangers with a binky in your mouth, and you want all of us to pat you on the back, give you a big hug, and say, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault." Well, sir, you're not Matt Damon, and I'm not Robin Williams because I'm not a joke stealer, and I'm not going to console you for your defeat. What we have here is it's almost a misdirection, and you're such a dum-dum, you don't even realize it. Like your anger, your judgment, your frustration, it's all misguided because you're putting it on the boomer when the boomer did nothing wrong. The person in the wrong here and the person you should be angry at is the hostess. The hostess is the one who did not do her job, and that's what we need to address. Okay, let's set the scene. You did a good job setting the scene. So you walk into this lakeside restaurant with thoughts of chicken parm and a bottle of red and a post-dinner cappuccino on your mind. You go to the hostess station, you say, "Hey, we would like a table," and the hostess does nothing. She goes, "Yeah, go take whatever seat you want." No, that's not your job, hostess. What the hostess should have done is go, "Okay, follow me." And she should have led you into the dining area and given you a table. And if you did not want that table and had an interest in another one, you should have brought it to the hostess' attention and come to some type of a compromise on where you could eat your dinner. That's not what happened. What happened is you came to the hostess table or station with that thought of chicken parm on your mind. And all the hostess did was it was a flip of the wrist. She gave you a flip of the wrist. Such disrespect. She flipped her wrist and goes, yeah. Go have whatever table you want. It's a restaurant. I can't be bothered to help you out. And you walked away and let the hostess go back to her iPhone and continue sexting the 5 guys she's spinning plates with. Is that what they call it? Yeah, she's just sexting dudes there and letting you get into an altercation with a boomer. And the hostess is the one you should have wrote this post about. So that's why I'm angry at you and I'm angry at the hostess. And I hope both of you see this and slap on the wrist to the both of you. As for the boomer, what Now, hey, was he a little overzealous? Was he acting immature, not his age? Was he ruffling feathers that he didn't need to ruffle? Yes, yes to all these accounts. But I'm going to exonerate him of the crime or the accusation here or the bitch fest that you gave us here on Reddit. And the reason for that exoneration is like that's all he has in life. Like an elderly guy, a boomer, he has no competition. Like as soon as you get your hip replaced, no longer can you play intramural basketball or flag football? The only thing holding this guy up is the grace of a walker with tennis balls on the bottom of it. That's the only reason why he's able to move. And this is his high school championship game. Like when he saw you lollygagging it to the table with your hand in the cookie jar, he came up and he swiped the ball from behind, knocked it to a teammate, and made sure he stayed there till he got the W. And I can't fault him for that because that's the only juice he's got in life is finding the unsuspecting patron at the restaurant and beating that sucker, and the sucker being you, to the table that that everybody wants. And honestly, I applaud him for that. Like you gotta have your head up at all times. So this is 2024. Like, you gotta play to win the game. And you went to this restaurant expecting to be served, and everyone spit on you. The hostess, the elderly, they probably watered down the bottle of red that you ordered. You can't go back to this restaurant. You can't show your face here. You have been defaced. If you have any ounce of masculinity left inside of you, which I question, you will never go to this restaurant again. Um, Penalty, you need to eat at not McDonald's is pretty awesome. You need to eat at Jack in the Box for the next month. Your wife should leave you. Your children should change their last name. They should not be associated with you. If you have one male child, he should have a vasectomy because he does not want to pass on this family name. I wouldn't want to if I was your son. You are an embarrassment to your family, to your community, to your church if you go to one. Um, you're just a puddle of mush, and I'm disgusted with you. Till next time, go suck a fat one.